Now, another team that has been extremely dominant in the first week was Qadsiah. They're currently at the top of the standings in the EMEA region, and they won over Twisted Minds and the Ultimates last week. Twisted Minds, that was a 5-map banger of the series. The Ultimates was actually quite a one-sided affair, and Qadsiah looked extremely dominant. Obviously, a big standout has been Ziad. We're calling him Ziad or Ziad?
Ziad, yeah.
Ziad. Ziad, it was his debut last week with the team, and he looked really, really clean. Like it looked like a really good fit for that team. One thing that stood out to me is that they kind of seem to stray away from that Freya. You guys don't feel like Freya is a must pick right now?
I mean, Labda, I think, has, obviously been incredible on the Sojourn, but I just don't think that they had picked up the Freya yet. Bit of a pep situation there, I think. And they haven't really had to. I want to say, Junkbuck learned a lot of things from Krusty, and thank God he didn't learn about pick ban strategy, because he absolutely rolled the Ultimates with it. Basically, like every part of the ideal comp that Ultimates wanted to play, like he was able to target through that ban phase. So they never really got to play their, exactly their style. I'm curious if Labda's been working on the Freya. I have to imagine that he is. And God, if he can turn from a Pharah one trick into a disgusting hit scan player, I'm sure he can get the Freya going too.
I think he'd be able to figure it out. I also think adding Kellex to this team adds like a level of stability to the backline, right? Like I know Haku, pretty good player, but Kellex has been around, stable, consistent, experienced player for a really long time. So I think he adds a lot to this team.
And Ziad should have been, I feel like, in Hangzhou with this team. I think he was probably the better option between him and Tread. It just didn't really pan out. So I think Qadsiah now realizing that, they're committing to the single tank strategy, not going to rotate that anymore. And we'll see what Ziad's hero pool starts to look out as maybe that, is something Junkbuck wants to develop, because he publicly said we're a bit easy to ban out right now, he feels. So that's something I'm sure he's looking to try and fix.
We still got to see different looks from Ziad already last week, so let's see if they expand on that. Today they're going to go up against Frosthill's Esports squad, the newly promoted, freshly minted, with a few familiar faces though.
Yeah, we've seen Shine in the past. What are you gonna say, Mitch?
No, quite a few. I mean, we've seen like Pac, Kyo, Margin, Gogo. We've seen a bunch of these guys on like that New Age team, if you remember. Like a lot of like those French players from last year, OWCS. And I'm sorry, but like these guys, I do think that they have the potential to be quite decent. I mean, a lot of them have played at this level before, but losing in the way they did to Peps does not fill me with confidence.
It was a 3-0. Was it one of those quality losses for those who have not watched the game? Was it one of those like, no? Okay, no. Never mind. No hope for them. Qadsiah's got this.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I do feel like Frosttails are going to take a little bit of time to develop a little bit, but I think Peps looked horrific today, I think is like the nicest way to put it, and Frosttails were never get a map against them, so there's levels to this, and I think Qadsiah are definitely favored.
Well, let's see what they can get done against Qadsiah in their first match of week 2. So guys, please take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, tough for Frosttails because they obviously ascend up to OWCS alongside Quick Esports, who actually looks really good. So they definitely have like quite a bar to try and meet here, Matt.
Yeah, I think Frosttails has like potential, right? I think just well, we'll see what happens with Quick Esports, right? You had that really good game in week 1, and we started to say how awesome you are. Let's see kind of what happens the rest of the way for Quick. So it'll be an Qadsiah map selection here to kick things off. They will take us to Busan, pretty similar to how we saw our last series kick off with TM taking us there.
Yeah, and obviously Qadsiah can quite easily play the Diva style, right? I feel like that's probably where Ziad looks at his best. They play Tracer, Sojourn. We're off to the races. Checkmate obviously is able to play that Genji that has been, looked at and banned away from him from time to time. We even saw like a Baptiste composition with the Diva setup on Gibraltar from these guys last week. Was weird, but Landon is that good. He can obviously sort of play like any of those flex supports at like such a high level. So he, I think, is going to be one to watch here. They did lose Gibraltar, but it ended up being a pretty close game. So it is what it is. So Lucia banned out here by Qadsiah, whereas the Freya is taken away. I like would have expected this to be the other way around, but again, like it might just be Frosttails don't feel like they want to try and bring that hero in. Whereas Qadsiah also haven't really tried to do it themselves. Like they've been playing the Sojourn.
I guess the threat of it potentially, right? I do think, though, it speaks to a little bit about how strong Freya is here early on in the meta, right? Where you're worried about Freya being selected by the other team, right? Players are gonna have to start picking up this new hero because quite effective. I mean, you saw in the last series, right? In that Sojourn versus the Freya matchup. I think obviously a lot of other things going right for Twisted Minds, but I think that was one of the bigger things.
Yeah, so, I mean, Calyx is obviously able to play the Lucio at a great level, shows us good Brig play, and Juno is something that you can mix in here quite happily. Frost, as we've seen Margin, we sort of expected to see like more diva from them. That actually wasn't so much the case. The Orisa actually was something they tried for quite a lot. Custody for Keo here, having banned out the Freya. That might be why they wanted to sort of go for this.
Yeah,
will not be favored against Soj at that sort of longer range game, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, exactly. Like you think obviously getting rid of the Freya puts Cassidy in a little bit better spot, but like it's not like Sojourn is terrible into the Cassidy, but it will be Keo getting that first pick.
And gets a Sojourn of all things, so we kind of cursed that one. I don't know what it is about. These European hitscan players wanting to go over to the Cassidy when they can, but losing Margin is a big problem for Frosttails. Point can be capped at any point now, but Qadsiah hope is just to take a bit more advantage and force Keo out of the game a little further. It'll send Leather down to cap, and pretty uneventful first fight despite that early pickup for Frosttails that needed more.
Who do you think this comp favors? Like, I would say it definitely favors Qadsiah, right? Like, you're mirroring the tanks. I think Landon on the Illari, it's like an interesting look here for a little bit of extra damage. And I think the Sim Sojourn is obviously a little bit better, more versatile than playing like Tracer Cassidy. Like, look at the range that Keo's in here. Like, what is he going to get done?
I mean, his damage fall off is pretty severe at this range. He's better at shooting people down on the point. Like, Calyx has enough time to react, respond, and drop down. And once the Orisa pulls up on you, like, you're basically cooked. Margin able to save up most of the Terror Surge. A nice little TP back there for Ziad. Able to get out of harm's reach, get healed. Go! No, man, you can't afford that. And that's, again, something you've got to respect. The Javelin can be devastating in these Sojourn comps, and Ziad is hitting them.
I mean, dude, he was like, when you kind of look at like all the fantasy stuff from last week, obviously a smaller sample size, right? But he was like the #1 player. Like, Ziad is so talented in terms of the tanks in the meta right now. As you see, they just locked Frosttails at the door.
Ben Hammer here for Keo, just trying to bust his way through. Deadeye, he's taking the perk that gives him a refund if he cancels it, but he doesn't. Now forced back, Landon's pylon been doing a lot of work here. That's the only casualty that Qadsiah have suffered in this fight so far. Pretty good, I think. Here comes Frosttails, though, with their orbital ray. Oh, Calyx goes low. Labda not quite able to slip away there as Pac cleans him up. And off the back of that ultimate, Frosttails should be at least able to get some capture percentage going.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to keep up, above 80% here. So Qadsiah get off to a fantastic start. That time, though, Frosttails, they just had some ultimates, right? And there was no way that Qadsiah was going to be able to fight through that. They tried to kite it a little bit, but obviously you don't have like a Lucio with the Lucio ban coming in. You don't have that like group speed to get everybody away. Maybe it's like a TP in response, but man, just a really nice fight there from Frosttails. Pushes them back, ends up getting them, and then getting the point.
Big shout out to Martin here with the homage to Raw with his Gladiator's tank skin. Big fan of that.
The big Roar fan.
Yeah, big Raw fan. Labda on the hunt, already found Keo there, so Cassidy out of the game. Quick flip back, I think, will be the order of the day for Qadsiah here. His pack is not even able to get rid of that healing pile, which is a big problem. We'll get a healing pack of his own. Flip now, Qadsiah in control. Calyx has gone down. Margin falls though, try to go for a Terror Surge, and that's a trade. If you're Qadsiah, you take every day of the week.
Well, yeah, absolutely, right? As Pac tried to make it back towards the point, but it is flipped, and with Ziad taking out Kiwi, I mean, what do you have here to be able to do? It's going to be just Pac being able to get a touch here, sending it into OT, but he is so low, doesn't have a recall. It'll be a Deadeye from the high ground. You can see where the Captive Sun takes out Landon, but this is all Qadsiah.
Yeah, nothing makes you feel the power creep more than being Cassidy trying to fight Illari. She can handle you quite easily. Qadsiah take that round away as Landon goes for the Captive Sun connection onto the enemy hit scan DPS and is able to complete the kill. Frosttails are losing Margin a little bit early in some of these scenarios. Even after taking an early pick, we saw it in the very first fight of the round, where Keo actually shoots Labda in the head, gets rid of the Sojourn, and then Margin dies. And it happens a couple of times throughout the round. But Margin does very early on in the fight, and like it's a trade up for Qadsiah, giving up like a support or one of their DPS for it.
When you see the Orisa just lose the armor, right? She just topples over. And just think about the difference in terms of damage here for Qadsiah, especially at range, right? With Lambda being able to just kind of farm the enemy Orisa at range. It's just a pretty sizable advantage. Like the Tracer for Pack can get up close to the Orisa and put some damage down, but you're not worried as much as like the Alari, the Sojourn, putting down some big burst damage at range. I mean, look at Majin already, basically dead.
And Kiwi has actually taken the perk that gives you healing when you do right-click damage, right? So in some situations, maybe if your tank's getting folded like this, you want to take the faster, opener travel time for the target below 50% health, I think at critical health. But yeah, they've taken a more aggressive slant here with their perks, which is fine. But it might be harder in a pinch to get Margin topped up if Gogo has eyes elsewhere. And this is not where Ziad wants to be. In a lot of trouble, being forced down to the low ground, but doesn't actually have to overcommit for this, right? In the meantime, Labda's able to tear strips off Frosttails. So while he doesn't want to be there, the rest of his team is just doing the job for him. He can trust them to go to work on Frosttails.
No, it was not a great spot for Ziad to be in, but with the overextension there from Frosttails, and they're not able to get rid of him, it's just so much damage going down onto Majin Kyo, and you're not able to get those players out alive. So although it gets off to a pretty decent start for Frosttails, it is not going to result in substantial point progress, right? They get up to 12%, and then the point flips immediately.
Okay, Qadsiah want to try and push as far forward as they can here. Just not give Frosttails any good sight lines for Kyo. Not even bring him down early. Terra Surge, not necessary there. Pack still crumbles anyway. Rebozo. The look over towards Margin. Now, this is pretty elementary stuff here for Qadsiah, and there's no incentive to sort of give Frosttails any room to fan out here.
No, I mean, they're getting right up to the spawn door, right? Just make it as costly as possible for Frosttails to get out as see Ziad charging up those spears, trying to connect with maybe somebody back in the spawn as Captive Sun is going to be shot right at the TP. Nice cleanse though there from Kiwi.
Landed though, such is the mobility that he has that Ultimate can sort of get out of line of sight, fold away, and let Labda step up in his stead. Gogo flatten instantly. Terra Surge here being utterly disrespected by Labda because he knows he's got plenty of healing from that orbital ray. Another one-sided fight here for Qadsiah. They are farming Frosttails one after another. Last chance for this upcoming team.
Who is that?
Make something happen.
Is that Pack on the other? So we're in the spawn here at Frosttails. I believe Pack is on the other side of the map. Like he just kept chaining his sim TPs. Yeah, so he's like all the way over here. So he's trying to be the one that maybe gets a touch. He's going to use a sim barrier, basically trying to keep himself up.
Inspirational. Inspirational.
I love it.
Well, sim barriers are going to be reciprocated here. Checkmate throws one down on the point that cuts it in half, allows Checkmate to dance it, put constant pressure down on Margin. Actually be able to return to the fight with enough time to be relevant, and Kellex almost takes far too much damage there. Slowly, he gets topped back up, but he's fighting fit now, and Margin falls first. This time, not his fault. He's got no choice but to step up and contest, but it has been a bit of a worrying trend over the course of this series so far, where the Orisa is getting dominated on the Frosttail side of things. This is just clean up here, folks, or mere formality, as Qadsiah are vastly the better team on Busan.
And I mean, that's without the Lucio in the mix, right? Where Kellex is fantastic on the Lucio. So a really good start for Qadsiah, who I think after Champions Clash, they're really trying to prove a point that they are the second best team in this region, potentially can even kind of go toe to toe with teams like VP.
Yeah, honestly, I think that makes perfect sense. They already, showed us a pretty ridiculous run at those Stage 1 playoffs, and it would deserve to be in Hangzhou. I just don't think they had the best lineup for that event. It was definitely a metagame where I think someone like, Ziad probably would have been able to find a little bit more action there. Trent had to play heroes he didn't want to play. And that was obviously, he had to play Winston at that tournament. It just didn't look very good. So
not great.
This team are legit. They've got a pretty star-studded lineup at this point. I think we've sort of come to expect a pretty high level from them. And Kellex has only seemed to bolster their consistency.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't think you're going to add a player like Kellex. I mean, this is chaos. I mean, the second round was basically Frosttails' entire existence in their spawn after the first fight. But I don't think you're gonna like get worse adding a player like Helix, right? He just brings a level of experience, calmness in big moments, right? He's played in huge games before. Somebody who has obviously, played through multiple different metas and kind of seen success. So I don't think you're gonna get worse in that type of department, right? I think it can only add more to this team.
Yeah. And this is just a great showing. I think, like we talked about, Ziad, who, was able to find some brilliant connections with these energy javelins to set up some kills, especially on mecha base. Here, I really feel like they just did their job. So I think the stats speak for themselves here.
That's an
pretty crazy.
8.8, one of the higher ones we've seen. I mean, that is up there.
North of 3 is very good.
Yeah, I mean, north of 5 is crazy. North of 8 is, that's a new realm, a new territory there. But Frosttails, this is another series, kind of like our first one, Mitch, right? Where these EMEA teams, they really like to play this aggressive style of play, more brawly, more rush style. But when you get up against a team who seems to be much better at it than you are, what is the other alternative, right? Like, what does Frosttails have that they can pull out?
I mean, you go and you play these games and you use them as opportunities to just sort of strengthen your cohesion and chemistry as a team. I don't think that like playing Orisa at every turn is going to serve Frosttails particularly well. Or see a little bit more, of what Margin is capable of. I want to also point out that Frosttails probably suspected they wouldn't have to face the Freya down, but they do ban her on that first map. It means that neither team really might be wanting to go in that direction. New Junk City is the pick, a very reasonable map for Brawl.
But this is what we just is literally what we just saw. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna ban Orisa, and then we're gonna get like Ramatra head to head. So curious to see where Frosttails goes in terms of the bans, right? See if they can kind of turn the tides in this series. I'm trying to look back as the bans for Peps in that match, right? This was like where they banned the Lucio in this one.
You really want to play Cassidy
here, but
just ban Sojourn against this team. Like, I don't think our Qadsiah,
yes.
I mean, we have not seen any reason to expect the Freya. Just ban Sojourn. You want to play Cass. That's
if
fine.
you ban the Sojourn, they probably play Tracer Sim, right?
Yep.
That's probably what they go to. Is there a threat of a little Lambda Farah?
You can mix it. Obviously, there are some parts of this map where it's pretty atrocious.
Tracer Venture potentially, right off the rip. We see that on first point sometimes.
It's good with them. It's better with the Malga comps, I think. I don't know if you.
It needs the stomp. It needs the stomp. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like are you worried about the sim here? If you're Frosttails, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. I think the sim obviously is an enabler of a lot of these different brawl styles of play, right? So getting rid of the sim, I think would be pretty good, pretty valuable option. Just it does leave open the tank and the support pool though for Qadsiah, which is obviously can have a huge impact on the game.
Qadsiah might try and force brawl here on this map. Yeah, okay. So this is not. As far as we understand, it's actually Frosttails ban.
Yeah, the Frosttails ban is the sim. So the Frosttails ban is the one on the left here. It's the sim. They get rid of it here first, so clearly they are worried about it. And then for Qadsiah, you just get rid of Diva, right? Opens up Orisa, opens up Ramatra. So we'll see that come into play.
Okay, so yeah, we have Qadsiah forcing brawl on this kind of map, and the sim taken away, which is probably not the end of the world as far as Qadsiah are concerned. We're having that updated for you right about now. It does mean that, like, I still want to see if Qadsiah have been working on Freya. Like, if your coach is Junkbuck, he's probably telling his players, guys, you need to like continue to broaden your hero pools. Like, I just don't think he's going to be satisfied when his whole message coming into this stage was like, we don't want to be that team that is so easy to target, ban out, and sort of punish for maybe lack of flexibility. So I do wonder about the Freya. Might still see, Labda playing in the comfort zone of the Sojourn, which is very reasonable here. It's quite strong. I mean, you play like Sojourn Genji here more than happily, right? You just go to work with that comp. You can mix the Tracer in if you want to, but I don't think this hampers our Qadsiah whatsoever.
No, I would agree with you. I think you can still play Sojourn, right? Ziad might have gone to like Diva, right? If they felt like a threat, in like the brawl. But I think after that map 1, is there any reason to feel like there's any threat? I would say no, right? So not surprised to see Qadsiah go this direction.
All right, folks. New Junk City on the docket next. I mean, I'd love the Reinhardt, Margie. Honestly, if you can just cue that up for me, I will be very happy. Qadsiah have actually worked in this Illari a bit more, right? We just saw it in the previous map, but it's kind of fun. Junior Illari on like a map that features less of those straightaways is really interesting. But on this map, I do think in Arena, you've got decent places to put those pylons where they're hard to take down. And obviously, like if we go to ducts or something like that, then it's actually pretty sick. Like there's a pretty sick setup if you can take the point first. What do you think about the Sombra here?
Sombra is an interesting one because, like, Sombra you would play against like a D.Va, for instance, right? I would have thought potentially you see like Checkmate play Tracer, but the Sombra, definitely a little bit of an interesting combination, and Labda will end up playing the Freya. So we talked about we didn't really see it last week. We've only seen play the Soj. Maybe it's something that teams obviously have scrimmed, have some opportunity in the last week or so. It's been known in EMEA he's been able to pick up.
But Labda, though, has done it. This is the junk buck effect. Like, there's no way he's going to let his boys slack, you know what I'm saying? So, get to see what Labda's been cooking up on this hero. Keo taken down already. Ziad able to get close enough. My fantasy team carry. Thank you. After Zerian let me down. Love to see that. Martin falling. It's usually in that order. Keo, then Martin, and Frosttails have got nothing to say.
Yes, it'll be Qadsiah pushing up straight into the base here. Frosttails yet again. So will Pack be able to... Oh, that's brutal, right? I mean, now you're going to end up having Pack just get a little bit of an extended respawn. Now Keo will actually play the Freya as well. So Freya May combination here. They'll actually match with a Sombra. So really interesting here. Playing a lot of Sombra. It's something I would not have expected. And then Landon playing the Illari.
Okay. Pack over towards the Sombra now. I guess Frosttails hoping to, have that same level of disruption towards Ziad as Martin suffered, and he really wasn't able to control that space with that constant Sombra pressure coming on in.
What do you think?
His backline is low throughput, man. Okay. I mean, the Illari here is like very reasonable once you have point control map, because they cannot take the healing pylons down. Look where it is. Like, you're never getting rid of that. So now, Atlanta can just hold M1 for the boys and go to town.
In the combination of like Bola Shot with the Captive Sun, we've seen that, Captive Sun plus Terror Surge, right? Some really good combinations for Qadsiah to potentially use with that, Captive Sun that Landon will have, as that is a first point for Qadsiah with minimal resistance there from Frosttails.
All right, it's about getting control early. I think Frosttails realized it's really tough to play into chokes against this Qadsiah cop if they have the advantage, but there's Margin dying first for Frosttails, but Gogo joins him. So he's not lonely on his way to the 7th circle, apparently. Yeah, tough business here for Frosttails now. Once again, Qadsiah can set up, and this was the flashpoint that I've referenced as being really hard to play into this quasi poker composition against, Matt. You've got such good high ground control, so many ways to punish attackers for not meeting you up on that bridge itself, and easy pylon locations for good heals.
And for Qadsiah, you didn't need to use either your support ultimates coming into this. Frosttails, right? You don't have your Kitsune Rush, you don't have your Bola Shot, right? Keo tries to towards the side there as it's a hack, but doesn't get anything.
I mean, March can't do it. I mean, JP, it forced Margin to run away. Like, he had nothing to do there. Suzu already had to be used, but just there, by the way. Okay, Captive Sun eaten up. Landon fires it straight into a Javelin spin. Margin the other Terror Surge here on the high ground, trying to force them down. Here's a sound barrier now for Frosttails. Qadsiah have to play around this orbital ray. Higher impact, but more localized, you could say. Margin wants to shove in here, but here it is. Labda and Landon get onto that kill feed. And they're taking both DPS down for the Frosttails side of things. A rare occasion where Margin is alive at the end of the fight still doesn't serve Frosttails any better.
But you see how deep he has to push in to try and get Kellex, right? You're pushing past the orbital ray. You're taking damage from the Freya, the Orisa, the Illari there. I mean, the damage output's so high here for Qadsiah. It's really difficult for Frosttails to play into, and they're already going to be down here potentially 0-2 in terms of flashpoints. It's going to be an EMP. It's just going to connect with checkmate, so you do get one.
Wow. What? There's some spite in that one, man. I'm certain of it. EMP, virus the enemy Sombra. Just get checkmate off the field. Try and free up Margin a little bit more to be able to do what he does best. Much better looking fighting for Frosttails. Yeah, it's a big spend. It's about as big a spend as you could expect, but it keeps them alive on this flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you end up giving it up here at Qadsiah, right? They end up getting a solo EMP and take out your Sombra right away. You're already kind of lacking in terms of ultimates. It's a Kitsune Rush used there, and a Sound Barrier 2 for Frosttails. And okay, so now you get Lambda off the rip here. So this is pretty good. Gonna get yourself probably up to about 50% here. How do you deal with, though, this like EMP that's going to come through, right? EMP plus Terror Surge options here for Qadsiah. Checkmate, get back into stealth. Looks like just trying to set up a big EMP.
Already selling that off angle. Remember, one take back here for Qadsiah means it's 2-0 in flashpoints. Oh god, Martin. Oh, he's in trouble. Okay, Suzu came in. Now you would think it'd be a good time for a checkmate to go for an EMP, but not needed in the end. Martin eventually gets toppled anyway. He'll hold on to that for the next fight potentially, as a flip back midway through the fight does not bode well for Frosttails. Now they've got to throw themselves at the point, which is tough when they're also trying to fight on even footing. It's not to be. 2-0 here for Qadsiah.
Checkmate was gonna go for an EMP there, Mitch, but Majin was so low that he actually decided, like, if I just get hacked in a virus, like, he has like no armor, he's basically like, you know, 100 HP, he was gonna be able to finish him off. Actually whiffs on the virus, so it gets a little bit dicey, but gets to the high ground, and I believe Ziad ends up finishing him off. And now you actually hold on to this EMP again here for Qadsiah. So to be able to get in here, right? You know, Frosttail's going to have to walk into the potential EMP. You have Bola Shot, Captive Sun, right? A few different options here. It's going to be the Kitsune Rush show to kick things off.
Alex staying alive through this, by the way. Still on the battlefield. Captive Sun came out there from Landon. Lambda's Bola Shot again eaten up by Margin. He's yeeted that once more into the blender, I guess. Has to take it away. No supports here for Qadsiah. Tough fight to win on any day. And Lando eventually will have to capitulate now, giving Frosttails, for the first time in this map, priority on a flashpoint.
Yeah, they'll get control first, right? The Captive Sun used there doesn't really get much there from Landon, and then also, like you mentioned, you know, Lambda throwing that Bola Shot into the spear spin of Majin yet again. So not really getting much value out of those Bola Shots. Still holding on to this EMP, right? I know at this point, Checkmate could have gotten two. Where let's see how he decides to do it. Maybe they can dodge Pax EMP and get an orbital ray off. It looks like potentially that's what they're trying to bait.
Ziad just shoves Margin out to the open there, and it's an EMP. Now Qadsiah are subject to. But Pack and Checkmate quickly traded out, and Gogo is looking for a decent beat timing. That's not a bad one, but Orbital Ray comes in and heals up Ziad. He's actually in the right place to get best benefit from it. It trends in his direction while he stops still and goes for a Terror Surge. Nice looks there for Qadsiah. Kellex finds the correct trajectory for that Orbital Ray, and it plays out beautifully.
Dude, Ziad is sick, man. He ends up using Fortify to be able to live through, obviously, some of the damage coming through and the sound barrier on the other side. Then gets the Orbital Ray, kind of like moves his way back with a Sphere Spin into the Orbital Ray, and then uses the Terror Surge to basically get another Fortify, right? To just make sure he's extra sturdy and healed up pretty much to full there by that Orbital Ray. Sick rotation of cooldowns from Ziad, being able to help himself stay alive.
How does Checkmate set this EMP up now? Usually, he'd be looking towards Margin first and foremost. Bola Shot comes in. Kitsune Rush to response here. Captive Sun, again, eaten up by Margin. Landon is 0 for 3 on those, if I'm not mistaken. That's tough.
That's a nice EMP, though. Connects with 3.
Yeah, Gogo out of the game as well. So no Lucio to work with now. Still a full backline for Qadsiah. But Ziad's gone down. It's just support to the left for them. And Kyo hits a beautiful little Bola Shot to make sure that they are short-lived. Frosttails might have themselves a flashpoint here. Qadsiah only have the speed ring, and Kellex is the last to spawn in.
Yeah, you're gonna get one more fight here, I think, though, for Qadsiah. Checkmate's gonna go over to the Tracer, so they definitely feel like it's one, potentially, if he gets there, that they were able to win, because you imagine you end up building up towards this Orbital Ray as Checkmate trying to figure out his way. He will end up getting a touch. Trigger an OT.
Drops down, though. Ziad a little low. Hacked at the moment. War Margin on the low ground. I don't know if this is where he wants to be. Easy pickings there for Lambda. Ziad now able to pull back over towards the point, and Checkmate is a little low, seen better days, and Ziad can only guess where that EMP could come from. It's Pack brought down midway through it. Javelin catches there on towards Kiwi. Far from done here. Frosttails have the numbers, and they have themselves a flashpoint. They look much better since sort of adapting to the way Qadsiah are looking to play. And they're going to stay alive in New Junk City.
Yeah, it does not look like anybody's going to be able to get a touch. Checkmate was kind of like lingering at the door, but Kiwi will deal with Checkmate, and Frosttails gets on the board. So showing some signs of life here. So we take a look at some of the stats where Ziad, I mean, look at the amount of damage he's putting down as compared to Majin on the other side. I mean, just unreal in terms of the tank play, up above 3,000 more damage there.
Down here just obviously will always be harried from like an off angle. That's Sombra. Labto and Kyo traded out here. Kyo has to spend a bowl shot in order to do it though. Labto holding onto his ult. Gogo being looked at in the distance. Remember, Lucio does not want to get javelin. It's pretty bad for him. Kitsune Rush comes in. Ziad wants to get amidst it. Sound barrier drawn out. So Frosttails have made use of both of their support ultimates, but that window allows them to pluck Checkmate away, and Labto might only be returning to the fray now-ish to really not able to be a factor in this fight. Pretty efficient for Frosttails. But they spend both support ultimates to sort of get on this flashpoint first.
Yeah, they're doing a much better job, though, I would say, from Frosttails of like putting pressure and getting onto Landon. They're able to get Landon second in that fight, right? Both Freyas just trade each other out, where I think this backline is obviously pretty susceptible to being collapsed on here for Qadsiah. Provide a lot of damage, but not a lot of personal survivability amongst the two, where I think Frosttails starting to take advantage of it.
Brandon, I'm looking at this captive sun, brother. Are we tracking the cooldown of Javelin Spin? Is my question.
Just eat it.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out for him so far.
This
all right.
I know it will. Watch
okay.
This. Oh.
God damn it! Come on, Landon, please! Oh. Okay, dude. Well, pretty easy fight win there for Frosttails.
Maybe he's using it to get out Spear Spin.
Yeah, honestly, I think that using an ultimate to draw out like a 6-second cooldown is great. I'm here for that. Really trading up there, Landon. Get him on Wall Street. All right, 98 and counting it for Frosttails. Qadsiah no business losing this map if they do. They're really, there's no excuse for dropping it considering how they've looked at the game so far. But conversely, the Frosttails have really adapted to this Sombra style.
No, they
look like they're happy enough with this, like a Risa kind of setup. They will be caught here though, a little slow to rotate off this flashpoint.
Frosttails has definitely stepped up though in the second half of this game, right? They go down 0-2 in terms of flashpoints. They win our last two, and then now they are in a very good spot in terms of ultimates here to potentially take this flashpoint, as it will probably be Qadsiah in control for first, or at least they're in control of the area of the point. Oh, nice shot there from Lambda. I believe they actually connect on a player in the sky. Is up. That'll be Checkmate getting solo EMP'd yet again.
Yeah. Pack is really, wanting to try and take down a Sombra or the Tracer first and foremost in these fights. Good captive sun hit there. Okay.
Lambda's bowler shot gets nothing. It actually clips like one of the kind of piles of cars over by the point. Yeah, it clips one of the piles of cars over by the point and doesn't go anywhere.
Doesn't look very icy when they are in orange, I will say that much. Qadsiah, they're struggling now. This is looking extremely difficult for them. You've been referring to the stats over the course of the game here. Definitely, overall, Frosttails playing some really good Overwatch. Kyo, 14k damage, leading the lobby in that regard. Checkmate had a pulse bomb there, but opts not to make use of it now. Gives us a window for a sound barrier to use here for Frosttails. 51% encounter is going to be a recall. Checkmate still caught inside the Terror Surge. He wasn't able to get far enough away. Gogo is down, but all this time, Frosttails are getting capture percentage. Landon deals with Kyo. That was an outburst elimination. Rare to see those. And Margin has been pretty hard to shift so far. Kiwi making sure he remains fighting fit. The Javelin charge perk is always a fun one to watch. Pretty devastating to connect those. Can they come out Qadsiah? Bullying onto the point. Pack goes down after he tried to stop Margin. Still a pretty good percentage here for Frosttails now.
Yeah.
Qadsiah going to win every fight.
I mean, they're in a great spot here for Frosttails, right? Just one more fight. You're the team with a huge support ultimate like one of Sustain is. Landon wanted that kill on Nikio so bad. If you're able to get him, you could have gotten, you're going to get everybody back in the fight, but it's going to be a little bit rushed here.
5 ults for Qadsiah. 5. They've got everything to work with now. Captive Sun for Landon, stepping up to the plate.
Here it is.
Can he get it in? Can he connect it? maybe? Not sure. Hard to say. He goes down. Keo picks him up, and it's a trade. Kellex at least able to get something there. Already active. Martin trying to benefit from it now. Coming forward. Qadsiah, surely 5 ultimates. Kishu in control of this point. Ziad upstairs now, hacked briefly, but Pack staved off for the time being, is now built up an EMP. Qadsiah, yeah, they're going to try and regroup for a moment, but Ziad and Martin are both pulled down at the same time. Ball shot from Keo. Surely that turns into elimination. Pack under pressure from Checkmate, who can double back and get the health pack, but it's really tough to deal with this trio here of Frosttails players. They still have point control, though. Gogo eventually falls. Lana gets back where he's needed, and now Qadsiah get to 95, but they spent all their ultimates, Matt.
Yeah, it's going to be Landon coming back on the Kiri, though, right? He's going to use that TP to get back to the point fast. They still have not dealt with Checkmate. Checkmate just kind of like underneath the point, just constantly juggling as Landon gets 2.
That is dirty stuff, and a headshot on a Keo, by the way. He's popping off, baby. Martin on the point there, not favored in a sort of drawn out engagement, I think, against Ziad, and he likely knows it, but he's lost too many teammates. Oh, buddy. Frosttails are going to be frustrated with that one. They got very, very close, but they at least feel like they've got a bit of a measure of Qadsiah so far, pushing him to the brink in our second match.
But if you're Frosttails and you play that good, like, that is one you gotta win, right? You know, it's really odd to say, like, Qadsiah obviously wins the map, but for most of it, I felt like Frosttails was, you know, arguably the better team there. Is Qadsiah just clutches up in the end. I mean, you know, Landon gets back on the Kiri. They're never able to get rid of Ziad, right? Once they kind of like have to play the Hazard to get back and go Hazard into the Orisa, it's really hard to kind of go after Ziad in that type of scenario.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a tough game for Keo and Gogo there, getting picked off like 12 times, I think, each, which is definitely on the sort of higher side of the spectrum. Ziad is still able to, I think, express a lot of dominance in that sort of 1 versus 1, but you can see how polarizing that Iari composition can sort of be when the sort of the flashpoint changes, right? The enclosed flashpoints where you can abuse choke, she's amazing if you have control of it. When it's more open, though, it's a little less guaranteed. I'm very glad Landon tried to avoid shooting the Orisa with Captive Sun for that last one, but I don't know if I can count that as a Captive Sun hit, because I think his intended target died to pulsar torpedoes anyway. So sorry, Chief, that's a big goose egg for you.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough go. I would also give some credit to Majin being able to constantly get those on the Orisa, right? Can be difficult to do at times, especially with the Illari floating up above. So Frosttails puts together a pretty good game. Still not good enough, though.
No, and I mean, I think they adapted pretty well moving over towards the Sombra game. Obviously, the idea is just to really hamper the Orisa, who is so cooldown reliant when it comes to taking that level of space. All of her kit sort of really depends on it. Martin, yeah, honestly, shutting down a lot of ultimates with that javelin spinner. Bowler there gets sort of eaten up, which is pretty impressive.
I thought Keo was pretty good on the Freya as well. Curious what your thoughts, Keo, was on the Freya.
Yeah, look, got punished a lot. Checkmate was able to sort of eventually start to dive them pretty frequently.
Was he bad enough to ban it out, though? Like, they banned it on map 1, right?
Yeah, no, I think that these guys are a very reasonable Freya team. I thought Keo's play was quite good. I don't have an issue with that. I agree. I think a lot of it was, you know, to do with just how well Qadsiah were able to play towards those last couple of flashpoints. So, no, keep it in. Both teams have shown they've been able to integrate that over the course of a week, which I think is really important. And it's something that we need to see more from Europe, who are a region that were really hampered by a lack of flexibility when they played in Hangzhou. So this region, there are a lot of top coaches in this region. Like, Europe has incredible coaches, you know, who some know like the pick ban strategy like pretty well. So
some are figuring it out.
You know, but that's fine, because NA has Hunter, who has admitted that it's not his, like, it's not what he necessarily brings to his team in that form. His draft documents are just stage props, and that's okay. But you know, I think this region obviously wants to get whipped into shape coming into that you know, that mid-season tournament, Matt, and this is a great time to get cracking.
There's a lot of talent amongst this region. Like, I think NA is obviously very strong at like the top, like pretty top heavy. But like EMEA throughout, you know, every team in OWCS here is capable of having games and beating other opponents, right? We just see it with Quick coming out of relegation and, you know, having a 5 mapper, where, you know, maybe EMEA, like the high end isn't like maybe can reach the ceiling as like NA, but I think they can with a little bit more variation in terms of their comps, because these teams are actually really competitive with each other top to bottom.
Absolutely. And I think like Runasapi is a decent map to select for both these sides. I do think that it's like obviously an Orisa map. Margin has shown a real preference to go that way, and I think Siad is really happy to take the mirror, you know, when they can. It does also
Is there any
mean
chance you'd ban it?
you. Why do I feel like it's more likely you try and ban Sombra here? So
Yeah,
like Frosthouse could try and protect ban the tank. Clearly Qadsiah don't want to play Malga against the Orisa, right? Which can be difficult, of course. It's harder for Malga to take the space he wants to against Energy Javelin, for example, and just being farmed by Freya. But I wonder if
just
like
play
Sombra
Tracer.
gets looked at here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a Frosttails ban of the of Juno. I have here. So we'll get a confirmation on whether it's the Juno or the Diva. But
it's a Juno.
yeah, it'll be yeah, okay. So Frosttails gets rid of Juno first, and then Qadsiah does get rid of the Sombra. So Sombra does exit the game. I like that ban for Qadsiah. Even if you weren't going to play it here, the threat that they play it, just adding that like variance and, you know, at times Sombra adds a little bit of randomness, right? Getting that out, I think, is totally fine if you're Qadsiah.
Yeah, I think it actually might sneakily make it harder for Qadsiah to play like this Illari comp. I think it can be okay on some parts of this map, honestly, because you have like it's pretty choky. But when you don't have the Juno, like just the really raw high throughput of the Juno to sort of take the pressure off the Illari from having to sort of, you know, do that sort of high level of healing without a pylon in play, might have to see like another combo. I think like Frosttails probably would play like Lucio Kiri. Yep. And Qadsiah still want to play the Illari. Okay, I respect it.
Yeah, putting a lot of value on the Illari, which is a little bit of an interesting setup, right? Although I will say Illari has a lot of good combinations with this lineup of heroes, right? Obviously the pylon does pretty good in terms of healing. The damage output's pretty strong, right? So you're going to have a sizable damage output advantage for Qadsiah. And then, as we talked about, if you can land the Captive Sun, right? Really good with Terror Surge, really good. Even if they're going like with a Kitsune Rush, right? Being able to kind of fire it into the Kitsune Rush, right? So a lot of different options there with that Illari ultimate.
Qadsiah have the stronger position though. They actually like move to take this outside part of the map, which again is really good for Illari's pylons. It's just if Frosttails aren't contesting it, then like yeah, it's very strong. Seattle wants to move up here. Takes a couple of those explosive bolts. Again, his team is slightly lower healing throughput. Kellex probably takes the extra healing perk here if they can. Kyo has managed to wend his way into the backline and well, that is a symbol. Served up piping hot for you, sir.
Yes, this will be Qadsiah, you know, behind that sim, right? The sim is going to put even... Dude, this thing about the damage output here for Qadsiah, for Frosttails dealing with this, right? Like, how are you keeping Machin alive where, like, really a pack can't deal with checkmate? You are just... there's no way you're keeping the Orisa alive with the armor, right? You know, the other team's Orisa, the Freya, the Illari, just so many... good options here to put down damage.
But already this is a pretty hot start for Qadsiah now. Margin getting really punched in the mouth as soon as he pops his head up anywhere. Wants to try and come forward now. That was the bowler shot there from Kyo, but nothing really to write home about there. And so Labda has one of his own. Checkmate goes down. So Kyo finally gets the value he was looking for on that corner. Kitsune Rush is still going to be committed. They are still trying to win this fight. Margin caught inside the bowler, and that's a trade I think you can take any day of the week. Stunning stuff. Captive Sun also deployed there for landed, and it didn't get eaten up this time. So everything's coming up Millhouse for the Qadsiah crew. Pylon thrown out in the open because obviously there's no bandwidth for Frosttails to clear that right now.
And that, I mean, that is a sick fight there for Qadsiah, right? You lose checkmate first. You connect with your Bola, the Captive Sun actually, they'll make an impact there. And that's the sound barrier as well there from Frosttails. First checkpoint already here for Qadsiah. As this could get even uglier here for Frosttails, Mitch. Checkmate's going to have this barrier. You're going to have Terror Surge able to use as well. Frosttails in a really dangerous scenario.
Yeah, Orkutanu playing sort of like double range pressure, marching down early. I think the wall just makes this even worse. That's triple digits.
The damage output's too high. There's no way you're... Because also the damage output's too high, but then you're also playing Lucio, right? So there's no way you have the healing resources to be able to keep him alive.
No, you don't. You have the throughput.
Yeah.
That is the issue. Whereas our Qadsiah can still pump decent heals to that pylon. It's like very powerful when it's uncontested. And for right now, it probably is going to be. Look where it is. Like you have to push up and basically have already won the fight before you can clear it out. That means Landon can, again, just focus on that damage output that's been so impressive. 120 and counting. Frosttails in deep trouble. Margin with the Terror Surge now. Here comes the wall. Oh, I like that one a lot. That is dirty stuff. Margin obviously playing on the wrong side of it. He's got no choice but to be there. Terror Surge. TP looks like it got cleared, but just dance it. Step onto the safe side of the wall. Shut that down. Beautiful javelin there. Forces a Suzu out from Kiwin. Look how low Frosttails are, and they're going to stay that low because they do not have burst healing to get them back into the game. This has been utterly devastating for Frosttails now as Keo goes for the classic Widow switch in spawn. Nice little shot there on Landon, actually. Pretty clean stuff. And of course, Pack will attempt to contest this for a time, but the numbers favoring Qadsiah so heavily now, they likely, though, will have to give it up from here.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to actually kind of get this one across the line, right? You just have Ziad here. It's going to be a TP from Kellex as they continue to try and fight this, but now that Lab falls, maybe you have to back up, but that is as close to a map completion as you can get. Also, quite brutal here, Mitch. When Checkmate uses that, like, sim wall, I don't know if you caught it, Pack conveniently decided to swap over from the Tracer to the Sojourn there. So you just basically had two, like, hit scan characters who were completely blocked off on one side of the map. Unfortunate stuff.
Okay, well, Frosttails still have over half of the map to work with, I suppose. Decent amount of time.
Dude, that's a, like, he's TPing back into that Checkmate there. That would be sick to catch on replay.
It just seems like, was Pack anticipating that? It's unclear. Still a fight with it for Frosttails with a sound barrier at their disposal in the next. It should be decent here if they can start to get the bot back to neutral. Margin will double back for it. Oops. That's okay. It's easy to get a little bit eager when you start to win a fight like that. See an opportunity to come forward further. Margin, though, just lost 200 HP in the blink of an eye, so he is going to back up here. Geo's down. Not good. Freya out of the mix. Frosttails still have Pack to lean on here. Checkmate's come off the sim entirely. He says, nah, Tracer, it is for me. Now I can really pressure these back lines. It's pretty dangerous, especially against this sort of Lucio Kiriko setup.
Well, I think versus Lucio Kiri, but then also with having the Freya and Sojourn on the other side, right? I think the Tracer obviously closing the gap much better.
Terror Surge. Draw everybody in. Okay, I don't know if Landon got big purchase off that Captive Sun. So it looks like we might just have Qadsiah just play from the middle of the map here. They obviously got that front spawn picked up. I have to maybe linger a little bit long there. The fight was definitely over. So, away we go.
How many fights is Frosttails going to have to win? I mean, I think you're probably like, okay, if we can chain enough fights together to get a point, and then get, like, I mean, at this point, you think like, okay, let's get the checkpoint, and then hope we just have like a crazy OT run, right? Like, is that like, I mean, obviously best case scenario is just continuously steamroll, but best case realistic scenario, like that might be it.
Continue rushing for both sides. I like the placement of Qadsiah there. Checkmate's pulse. No result from that one. Does run headlong there into Keo. Terror Surge, decent catch, but everybody able to slip away for the most part, although Labta is low, and Martin makes sure he does not pick himself back up. Now, operate on the outside ring here. It's been another consecutive fight win for Frosttails. So now we're starting to talk about first checkpoint here.
A checkpoint would be huge. Checkpoint starts, you know, making this a little bit more of a reality, right? Where if Frosttails can get this, there's nothing really to work with on the Qadsiah side of pretty much a dry fight overclock available for Pack. But I mean, Checkmate, just getting like an assassination kill here on like the back line or one of these DPS would be massive.
Checkmate knows he can be more of a nuisance without having to fully commit here, but just has to keep track of those health pack locations because he's not going to get much help in this position. All right, here's an overclock from Pack. It's a bit claustrophobic right now for Frosttails, though, and Ziad's going to give them a bit of room now. Back away to the long straightaway. Has to play from behind that kiosk, otherwise he'll be picked off. Damage on Gogo was decent, but Labta can't find a second explosive bolt connection. Qadsiah not in a great position to contest this right now. Sort of charged javelin here, just shoves Ziad away. Pack, though, goes down. Qadsiah now know there's only sort of under 2.5 minutes left to play. Pack is missing, and I don't know if Kio's going to survive this. Somehow able to drop back down, get back to life. Sound barrier committed here for Frosttails. They want to get back into the map. Throw in, okay. Nice little bowler prediction there. Checkmate is taken down, and Ziad is likely going to fall here. Kellex is doing his best to keep him topped. Still going to fall. Both Kellex and Landon out of the game, and now Qadsiah just giving up more and more ground.
I mean, Ziad ends up actually like staying alive through most of this here, right? He's actually just going to kind of contest the bot. Stagger himself a little bit, right? But I think for Qadsiah, they're just trying to burn clock, as that's both support ults used there by Frosttails. So do you have a window here for Qadsiah? Frosttails needs to be perfect from here on out, right? They have to win every single fight. This is going to be their best chance they have.
You're dead right. One slip and Frosttails are out of the series, and it's a 3-0. It really doesn't encapsulate the moments, at least, where they were able to start to take advantage and look to be the better team. As that pile on, pretty uncontested in that spot. Landon just going to refresh it so it can heal people further around the corner. Just have to move that one up. Martin low to this poke, really low. This is going to basically force all of Frosttails off that line. Has the turret for Landon that gets put in a position to be picked up. Captive Sun, Terror Surge. Tries to predict a dash away from Kiwi, but still catches onto the Kiriko with that one, and that is good enough. Qadsiah now able to push up even further.
And that's a combo that Frosttails has absolutely no answer for on the other side. No cleanse, no sound barrier, no opportunity to counter that, as Kia knows that Checkmate playing around that corner. He gets quite low. Bola shot here, Bola shot plus Terror Surge possible combo here.
Oh, that's so nice.
For Frosttails. Oh, Kia's
Checkmate knows the rhythm that those like take aim shots come out in. Yeah. Yep, that bowler never had a chance to be used there. I don't know if you necessarily even want to, but Checkmate just dashes. He knows the timing, the rhythm of those charge shots, man. Yeah, I mean, that's true. You've got to go for it. They can't be saving that one for the next series. Ziad, run down eventually, but the damage is already done here for Frosttails. They've got nothing to work with. Kia off, spawn. Now it should be 3 at least plays here for Qadsiah. Getting the bot far forward for Frosttails' last-ditch effort on the map. They're basically got to finish it. They do have to finish it at this point. They've got both their deep PS ultimates, but Gogo had to contest, had to touch, had to push it forward, and ends up going down for it.
Yes, we'll see it be an overclock here for Pack. Everybody for Qadsiah just kind of kiting it, as it'll be around the corner, tries to connect with the Bola, does not get anything though. It's going to get the TP out of Kiwi.
Very low is Pack. He's very far forward. There's no choice but to be at that point, and I don't know if there's anywhere left to run there for Kiwi. This is going to be Frosttails conceding the series as Qadsiah, with a bit of a messy new New Junk City, still look pretty darn good, all things considered. A 3-0 win. Stacking them up, Qadsiah, dominant.
Look, this is the team that we expect to be one of the best in the region. You're expected to take care of business in these types of games. And, New Junk City, pretty competitive, start to finish for Frosttail and Qadsiah. But Qadsiah proves to be the dominant team here today, right? Taking this one 3-0, not playing around with Frosttail at all.
The Juno ban, for me, is so critical in terms of that Runasapi map, because time and time again, we're looking at a team in Frosttail that just does not have the healing to deal with all the poke damage coming in.
I still have to give a lot of credit to Frosttail. I feel like there were plenty of opportunities where they started to claw themselves back into the game, especially, of course, in that second map. I think they really made some good cases, some strong cases for them, showed adaptability in their approach against Qadsiah, and they kind of threw them off there for a little bit. I feel like Frosttail's probably going to kick themselves a little bit in the buttocks here, because, quite frankly, map 2 could have been theirs. Like, landing, getting a clutch 2K at the very end, like, that's gonna hurt.
I think somebody else would give you the kick in the butt. So maybe it's like the coach would give you the kick in the butt.
Gotcha. It's just like a conga line of butt kicking,
up,
right?
Yeah, it's like a human centipede of butt kicking.
Yeah, I was going to go there. I didn't want to have
I knew you were.
I liked the Sombra play from them in map 2.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually quite effective. And then I don't think Keo was bad enough on Freya that you would ban it, right? From what we saw from him, he was coming up with some pretty big shots at times. But then I know Lab, I think really impressive, him able to pick them